think we're live. Awesome. I'm just gonna... Okay. I'm gonna wait for folks to join us or for Instagram to tell me I'm doing things right. Cool. Okay. I think we're rolling. I'll wait for someone to jump in. And then we'll get started. But welcome, folks. This is another edition of the Free Black Women's Reading Library Challenge. Okay. All right, I think... Okay, we are live. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, folks. For those who may know me, my name is Rinne-Julie. I use they, them, theirs as my pronouns. I identify as a Black Afro-Latina femme, non-binary person, a New Englander, a Gemini, and my professional title is I'm one of the program coordinators for social justice and diversity education at the Office of Multicultural Affairs. So the OMA and the ETC, the Emily Taylor Center, we've been doing this challenge all throughout the year of 2020, inviting different femmes of color, particularly Black femmes, to just read different books from different categories. Today, my prompt was I was supposed to select a book, a queer Black author, either fiction or creative art. The world's been really heavy lately. Being back on campus has been an adjustment, so I wanted to go with something light today. So rather than doing fiction, I decided to choose a creative writing piece, and this is no way saying that creative writing is fiction, but I decided that I was going to read to y'all some poems from June Jordan. So for those that don't know who June Jordan is a bisexual Jamaican poet, author, playwright, just badass. She was born in Harlem in 1936 and she passed away in 2002. And just like as a queer Black person, as a queer Black femme, I didn't know much of June Jordan's work growing up, and I wanted to be really intentional about choosing someone who was just very unapologetic in her work. She did a lot of poetry and her plays on the apartheid in South Africa and its parallels to American racism. She talked about women's rights, again, blatant racism and homophobia in America, and just her joy. So I wanted to read you some of her poems about darker things, more intense things, more angry poems, but I also wanted to read you some of the love notes and some of the poems that she wrote to some of her wife towards the older times of her years. But I'm going to read y'all 6 poems today, and I hope you enjoy them. So the first one I'm going to read to y'all is called These Poems. These poems, they are things that I do in the dark, reaching for you, whoever you are, and are you ready? These words, they are the stones in the water running away, the skeletal lines, they are desperate arms for my longing and love. I am a stranger leaning to worship the strangers around me, whoever you are, whoever I may become. These poems. So that's like her intro. The next one I want to read to you is called Jim Crow the Sequel, and this came out in 1980, right around when there was a lot of things going on in South Africa and a lot of performative things going on in America. So, Jim Crow the Sequel. An angry Black woman on the subject of angry white men. We didn't always need affirmative action. When we broke this crazy land into farms, when we planted and harvested the crops, when we dug into the earth for water, when we carried the water into the big house kitchens and bedrooms, when we built the big house, when we fed and clothed other people's children with food we cooked, and served to other people's children wearing the garments that we fitted, that we sewed. Together, when we hacked and hauled huge trees of lumber and fuel, when we washed and polished the chandeliers, when we bleached and pressed the linens purchased by blood profits from our daily forced laborings. when we lived under the whip and in between the coffle and the chains, when we watched our babies sold away from us, when we lost our men to anybody's highest bidder, when slavery defined our days and our prayers and our nightmares of no rest, we did not need affirmative action then. Like two-legged livestock, we cost the boss man $315 or $675, so he provided for our keep like two-legged livestock, penned into parched impropriety of every grand plantation life. We did not need affirmative action, no. We needed freedom. We needed overthrow, revolution, and holy fire to purify the air. But for 200 years, like crazy land and law, the bullets behind the law continue to affirm the gospel of God-given white supremacy. For 200 years, the law and the bullets behind the law and the money and the politics behind the bullets behind the law affirm the gospel of God-given white supremacy, God-given male white supremacy. And neither Emancipation Proclamation, nor the Civil War, nor constitutional amendment after another, nor the civil rights legislation after another could bring about a yielding of followers of that gospel to the beauty of our human race. Justice didn't mean nothing to a hateful heart. Justice don't mean nothing to our hateful heart. And so we needed affirmative action. We needed a way into the big house besides the back door. We needed a chance at the classroom and the jobs, the opening housing and okay neighborhoods. We needed a way around the hateful hearts of America. We needed more than freedom because a piece of paper ain't the same as opportunity or education. And some 30 years ago, we agitated until the president said, quote, "We seek not just equality as a right and a theory, but equality as a fact and as a result." And a great rejoicing rose like spirit dancing fresh and happy on the soon-to-be the integrated and most uppity ballroom floor that is the United States. And black folk everywhere dressed up in African-American pride and optimism. From the littlest to the elders, we shined our shoes, we brushed our hair, and got ready for the equity, in fact. But 3 decades later, come to find out, we never got invited to the party. We never got included in the people. We never got no kind of affirmation action worth more than spit in the wind. And yesterday, the new man in the White House, the new president declared, quote, "What we have done for women and minorities is a good thing, but we must respond to those who feel discriminated against. This is a psychologically difficult time for so-called angry white men." Well, I'm here to tell the world that 46% of my children living in poverty does not feel good to me, and my brothers in prison and not in college does not feel good to me psychologically or otherwise. Catch the angry white man and I will tell him get a grip. 46% of American labor force is instituted by white men, but white men occupy 95% of all senior management positions. And a wise black man recently observed, quote, "This supposedly belligerent minority, white males are about 1/3 of the population, make up 80% of the Congress, 4/5 of tenured university faculty, 9/10 of the Senate, and 92% of Forbes 400. Tell me who's angry. I say the problem with affirmative action seems to me like it was too much affirmative talk and too little action. And unless you happen to belong to the infiltrated club of millionaire black folks, got $108,000 to throw into a campaign pot for their nearest and dearest full-time politician racist, I think you better join me to agitate for justice and equality we can eat and pay next month's rent with now. So for those of you that just joined, that was Jim Crow, the sequel, An Angry Black Woman on the Subject of Angry Black Men by June Jordan. Which just feels very timely. 40 years later. The next poem I want to read from you is the poem for South American women. A poem for South American women. Our own shadows disappear at the feet of thousands. By the tens of thousands pound in the fallow land into the dust that rising like a marvelous pollen will be fertile. Even as first women whispering imagination to the trees around her made for righteous fruit, in such deliberate defense of life as no other still, will claim inferior to any other safety in the world. The whisper, too, they intimate in the innermost ear of every spirit, now aroused they carousing a ferocious affirmation, all the peaceable and loving, amicable sound, a certainty, unbound heat, from a baptismal smoke where, yes, there will be fire. And the babies cease alarms as mothers raising arms, and high hearts as the stars so far unseen, nevertheless hurl into the universe a moving force, irreversible as light years traveling to an open eye. And who will join this standing up? The ones who stood without sweet company will sing and sing back into the mountains and, if necessary, under the sea. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Okay. I got 3 more for you. So the next one is the first poem I ever came across from June Jordan. And I just appreciate how she takes me to a different place, and it's really nice to escape. So, It's Hard to Keep a Clean Shirt Clean is the name of the poem. A poem for Saram and all the poetry for the people. It's a sunlit morning with jasmine blooming easily, and a drove of robin redbreasts diving into the ivy-colored covering of what used to be a backyard fence, or doves shoving aside the birch tree leaves, when a young man walks among the flowers to my doorway, where he knocks, and then stands still, brilliant in a clean white shirt. He lifts a soft fist to the door and knocks again. He's come to say this was or that was, and now, and not in what's anyone used to be, about what's done, what's past, but prickling salt to sting our eyes. What's any one of us to do about what has been done? And 7-month-old Bingo, puppy leaps and hits that clean white shirt with muddy paw prints here, and there. And what's any of us to do about what's done? I'll say I'll wash the shirt, no problem. 2 times through the delicate blue cycle of an old machine, the shirt spins in soapy suds, and spins and rinse, and spins out dry, but not clean. Still marked by energy of whatever serious or trifling cause, the shirt stays dirty from the puppy's paws. I take the fine white shirt from India, the threads as soft as a baby's fingers weaving them together. I wash that shirt between the knuckles of my own 2 hands. I scrub and rub the shirt to take the dirty markings out. As the pockets around the shoulder seam and on both sleeves, the dirt and paw prints tantalize my soap, my water, my sweat equity. Invest in the restoration of this clean white shirt. And on the 11th try, I see no more, no anything unfortunate, no dirt. I hold the limp fine cloth between the faucet stream, over water as transparent as I wish the moon stayed out all day. How small it has become, this clean white shirt, how delicate, how slight, how like soft first knocking at my door. And now I hang the shirt to dry, as slowly as it needs the air to work its way with everything. So it's clean. A clean white shirt nobody wanted to spoil or soil, that shirt much cleaner now, but also not the same. As the first before the shirt will go and hit and hurt. Not perfect anymore, just beautiful. A clean white shirt is hard to keep clean, shirt clean. So the next 2 poems that I have for y'all are poems that she wrote to her wife. One to her wife, and I believe one to an ex-lover. But poems for my love. How do we come to be here next to each other in the night? Where are the stars that show us our love, inevitable? Outside the leaves, flame usual in darkness and in rain, falls cool and blessed on the holy flesh. The black man waiting on the corner for a woman's mirage. I'm amazed by peace. It is the possibility of you asleep and breathing in this quiet air. Poems for my love. And the last poem that I have for y'all is The Talking Back of Miss Valentine Jones, poem number 1. Well, I wanted to braid my hair, bathe and bedeck myself so fine, so fully at forethought for your pleasure, see. I wanted to travel and read and run around fantastic into war and peace. I wanted to surf, to dive, to fly, to climb, to conquer, and then be conquered. Then I wanted to pick up the phone and find you asking me if I might possibly be alone some night. so I could answer cool as the jewels I wear on bare skin for delication, and say when you coming over. But I had to remember to write down margarine on the list, and shoe polish, and a can of sliced pineapples in case of company, and a quart of skim milk because Teresa's gaining weight and don't nobody groove on that too much. And next I had to sort the darks and the lights before the laundry hit the water, which I had to keep an eye on because if the hose jumps the sink again, that Mrs. Thomas is going to come upstairs and brain with me the mop and don't smell nice enough. She head first into the window, and I had to check on William, like burn himself to death with fever. Boy is so thin, calling all day, Mama, can you sing to me? Ma, am I gonna die? And me not waking up to sit beside him longer than to wipe away sweat or change the sheets, his shirt, and feed him orange juice before I fall out of sleep. Sweet Jesus, ain't no one but there's nothing left. But we going through the afternoon now. You temporarily shown up with a thing. You says a poem, and you call it, Will the Real Miss Black America Stand Up? Guilty poem mouth about duties, beauties of my head rag, boozed up doozies of never mind, 'cause love is blind. Well, I ain't use it. I can't use it. And the very next bodacious black man to call me queen because my life ain't shit, because in any case, he ain't been here to share it with me. Dish for dish, do for do, and dream for dream. I'm gonna scream him out my house because what I wanted was to braid my hair and bathe and bedeck myself to be fully, because what I wanted was your love. Not pity, not because I wanted, but because I wanted your love. The Talking Back of Miss Valentine's Jones. So again, these are just some of the poems from June Jordan's collection, Directed by Desire. Again, just a lovely Black queer woman who normalizes her rage and her emotion and her lust and her pleasure. And something that I really needed today. So thank y'all so much for joining me. I see that Sapek joined, I see that Meg joined, but I hope that these light poems brought you a little joy like they brought me, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, y'all. Please be well. Oh, and in case you want to see the full recording of this, I forget to mention, this can be found on Emily Taylor Center's YouTube as well as their Instagram. And for anybody that interacts with this post, you can win a free copy of the direct collection of the books, the direct collection of poems of June Jordan. She's wonderful, and I think another asset and slept-on poem you can add to your collection. But thank y'all again so much for being here with me. Be well.